Well, Mark, many managers always talk about a game on a Tuesday being a good thing on the back of a defeat on the Saturday. Do you subscribe to that as well?
Only if you get a result. So it makes it even worse week if you lose it on the Tuesday as well, doesn't it? So we're going to be desperate to put things right, or the players should be desperate to try and salvage some pride after Saturday.
How do you feel now about it a couple of days on? Obviously we heard your very impassioned interview immediately after the game on Saturday. How do you feel about it now?
Exactly the same, and exactly what I felt after Portsmouth in the first game, and it just highlighted what I already knew, really.
Which is what?
That we need to do some work in the summer.
What about the reaction from the players? I know you had them in for training, didn't you, on Sunday? How have they been?
Well, I think when we watched the game, we conceded 5 goals, and every goal was very, very avoidable. Every goal was a mistake, and I will put it down to, I'd certainly put 2 or 3 of them down to desire and commitment in terms of keeping the ball at the net. And I think that's been the problem for Notts County this season, that the difference between the teams at the top of the league have that real tough camaraderie and spirit, and they're desperate to get results, and too many times we haven't, or Notts County haven't been. So that only comes with bringing the right characters to the football club.
I was going to say, it's a tough thing to coach, isn't it? Or maybe impossible to coach.
Can't coach. Impossible. You can, like I said, for 3 or 4 games at a time, you can get a little run of results, but it'll always rear its head again.
Obviously you've been in football a long time, so I guess nothing really surprises you, but on the back of a couple of good performances and home wins and kind of getting a bit of momentum going, how much of a shock did it come as Saturday?
Like I said, I think I knew it was around the corner, but when you watch the first half of the game, I think Mansfield got into the Notts County half about 3 or 4 times, and the rest of the time we were in their half but didn't create one shot or didn't create one chance, because we picked up the wrong positions, we made the wrong decision with the ball, or people were selfish, and the general lack of concentration and quality. And what you have to say is, when Mansfield got their opportunities, they took them, and they were really up for the game, and we knew it was coming, but we just didn't deal with it.
And what's been the reaction of your players when they did come in? I know you made them to watch the whole game again. How have you been impressed or otherwise by the reaction of your players, or will you not be able to tell until they get out on the pitch at Barnet?
You can only tell once tomorrow night comes, against Barnet, and that is going to be an amazingly tough game, because Martin Allen's teams are always very, very difficult to play against. Done an absolutely amazing job at Barnet to get them promoted on a real poor budget, and to be where they are in the league, playing some really good football. It'll be a tough game, and they'll be desperate to beat Notts County.
As you say, after promotion last season, they've kind of stabilised, haven't they, and nicely in mid-table this season as well.
Yeah, I watched some of their games, in the footage over the weekend. They're trying to play some really good football, and at the top end of the pitch they have Michael Gash and John Akindi, who are a real handful. We have to deal with that. And like I say, when we get our opportunities in and around the final third, we have to make better decisions, but we have to show a desire to keep the ball out of that. I mean, if you look at I think it's the 3rd goal, we have a corner, their centre half heads it out the box, and 10 seconds later it's in the back of our net. One of their players runs the full length of the pitch, beats 2 of ours, crosses it, and it's an open goal. So
obviously 3 points is the kind of obvious answer, but what do you want to see more than anything from your players when they do go out at Barnet?
Well, you want to see a reaction, don't you? You want to see a reaction from the players that says, I really want to be at this football club next year. Good things are going to happen. and it's going to be a successful team. So they need to show that I want to be here, I really want to be here, and I want to play. And that's what I'll be looking for. Like you say, we've had 4 games where we looked okay and pretty solid, and they've got to get back to that.
It's interesting that you talk about good things being on the horizon for Notts County. Do you sense that? And clearly it sounds as if you want to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, I just think that if you get a chance to be here next year and recruit the right kind of players, then it could be a real successful club.
The performance and the result doesn't make you kind of think twice about that, about you wanting to be here. You still see it as a project to kind of rebuild, if you like.
I think it needs rebuilding, doesn't it? I think everybody would say that, and why not? Could be a good football club. It's a big football club historically, and on paper it's got everything that you need. But we don't play the game on paper. We've got to do the hard work, and that needs to start now.
Mark, I wouldn't expect you obviously to give your team away at this time on a Monday morning for a Tuesday night game, but are you the kind of manager that kind of gives them another chance, send them out there and prove me wrong and prove Saturday wrong, or do you look at making changes?
We haven't got too many realistic opportunities or options to change the team, so there will be probably 1 or 2, but the players that, well, the team, that includes all of us, that let down a real good away support on Saturday, need to go and put it right on Tuesday. Simple as that.
Hope you can, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.
When you came in yesterday, Mark, what was the first thing you said to the players?
I can't remember. But it's just not acceptable to get beat 5-0 in a local derby, to have so much of the ball in the first half and not create 1 chance. It's just a bit of care and a bit of concentration. Is really, really frustrating and disappointing. I think the players know that, they felt that. And let's see what they've got in the locker for Barnet.
Did they offer you an apology?
No. They don't have to apologise to me. Nothing to apologise to me for. They need to apologise to themselves, really. They let themselves down.
When you first looked at the job, you obviously probably thought it's a big job. Has it now become a lot bigger than what you first anticipated?
Not really. No, because they've 3 managers this year. They can't all be wrong, can they? So somewhere along the line, that the players have to take some responsibility, and I think they know that. If I make mistakes, I'll take responsibility, and I think that's got to start with the players. They know that Saturday wasn't acceptable, and you'll get 3 or 4 that'll put their hands up and say, I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
But you'll get a lot that'll say, well, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It was the other 10, I was all right.
Is that the culture that you've got to try and eradicate?
I think so. And that comes down to the characters that you bring to a football club. Can you say that Northampton, man for man, are however many points better than Notts County?
Not really, no.
Not really. So it doesn't really come down to ability. It comes down to something else.
And is that where the club's got to get it right in the summer, is the recruitment?
I think so, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Barnet, obviously, it's going to be a tough physical game, isn't it, on a Tuesday night? Martin Allen's sides are always very in your face and aggressive.
Yeah, they are, and I think that you have to be like that. There's nothing wrong with that, and I want my team to be like that. But what I will say about Barnet is they're trying to play, and some of the football I've seen them play has been really good. Really, really impressed, and it's got some decent players there. That they'll all be having a go. So we'll have to be on the front foot and be right at it.
And I know you've managed a lot of games. Have you ever experienced a derby defeat like that in your career as a manager or player?
I got beat last season in the FA Cup first round by Cheltenham, which we probably would say is pretty close to Swindon.
Yeah.
We got beat 5-0 in the first round of the FA Cup. We had a man sent off after a minute, which didn't help. And that wasn't very nice. But then we went and beat Bristol City the next game. So I'd settle for that
Yeah.
this time.
When you looked into the players' eyes yesterday, you think they knew that they were well off it?
I don't think you can ever tell.
No.
I've given up trying to read players' minds in terms
Well,
of
in this day and age,
yeah, in terms of what they're thinking. They'll tell you that they were good, but
whether they believe it or not.
exactly. Yeah.
Mark, now you've had the chance to, as you say, watch the video back, what in particular went wrong? What was the most disappointing part of Saturday?
Well, the goals. The goals were all mistakes. Individual. Every goal was an individual mistake. So, if you concede, if you make 5 mistakes like that, then you have no chance of winning a game of football. No matter how well you play or what ability you've got in your team, if you make 5 mistakes and give goals away like that, can't win. Impossible. And the first half, we had all the ball, but didn't create anything with it. Might as well have not bothered with the ball. I just kicked it out of the ground because we didn't have any real movement or any. When we had the ball, we didn't have any real shape about us. Just had to create a scoring opportunity. So it was a disaster, really.
And despite all that in the first half, you were in the game, but were you still worried watching that, thinking, if we don't start to create stuff here, this could go wrong?
But you always think that. The biggest worry for me was where the next mistake was going to come from. So every time they went near our goal, it seemed to be a shot or a goal. So when that happens, it's a bit of a problem, isn't it?
You've spoken a lot about desire after the game. How disappointing is that to not have that desire, to seemingly want to win the ball, head the ball?
I don't think it was a lack of desire in terms of wanting to head the ball and things. That was just a lack of belief and desire to go and have a shot or go past someone and score a goal or make a cross. That's the kind of desire. I don't mean going around 2-footing people and getting sent off. I think that's a common misconception, but actual bit of devilment to go and create something.
Has that come from a bad season, lack of confidence, change of managers? Is that a result of the turmoil, if you like, this season?
Possibly. I think it's been a fragmented season in one way or another, and it just needs calm. It needs settling down, and to get a group of players together that are desperate to play for the football club.
And I'm not going to ask you to sit here and tear apart your players, but it seems that you think that there needs to be changes on the playing staff side of things.
Yeah, listen, there's some good players here. There's some good players here that have got really good ability, but we have to add to that and make it a real solid unit.
Have you learnt any more about your squad after Saturday?
Not that I didn't already know.
Has it reaffirmed some beliefs?
Yeah.
How much of a difficult task is it to go and put it right, to lift your head back up for the next game?
It's the only way to do it, and it's great for a player that they get an opportunity, if they get an opportunity, to put it right on the Tuesday night. So they should be raring to go, and hopefully we get a reaction.
Are you glad of a Tuesday night fixture?
Yeah, after a 5-0 defeat in a local derby, definitely.
It may sound an obvious question, but explain your thinking to bring the players back into training yesterday. You know, what happened and what did you say to them?
I think you have to do it because you have to find out what happened and why it happened. You have to show them why it happened. And the easiest way is to show them the actual footage of the game, because there's no hiding place then. As to what happened, they can't say, well, it wasn't me, or I didn't do that, because it's staring them in the face. So you can actually pinpoint that and say, that's where it went wrong. And then you try and take that onto the pitch and rectify it.
Does there seem to be that group acknowledgement, that understanding from what you've witnessed so far?
You would hope so, wouldn't you? You would hope so.
How disappointing was it, given the travelling support you had for local derby? And also, did it surprise you, given the last couple of games have been pretty good?
Criminal. Absolutely criminal, because, you know, that's spoilt a lot of people's weekends, and the players didn't deserve the weekend off after that. So, but I say, sometimes when you look back on a game, when you witness it firsthand, it seems a lot worse than it actually was. And when I watched the first half yesterday, we had all of the ball. When you actually watch it in the cold light of day, we had all of the ball, but didn't create a single thing.
That must make it all the more frustrating sat in your shoes.
Definitely. They had one opportunity, I think, in the first half and scored from it.
Let's take it back to basics, if you like. What do you need to do better on tomorrow night?
First of all, we need to be better in the final third of the pitch in terms of creating goal-scoring opportunities. But the basics side of the game, which means if you're a midfield player and your man runs into the box, you have to run with him. If you're nominated to mark someone from a set piece, you mark them. Whatever your job is in the team, do that first. Do that first, you know, and then anything else is a bonus.